Hey, welcome back. This is Newsnight. A lot has moved around this issue of the motion of no confidence in the president, but also the other one in a motion of no confidence around cabinet. So let's start with this development. The African Transformation Movement, the ATM, plans to withdraw its motion of no confidence in President Cyril Ramaphosa, scheduled for Wednesday. This after the Western Cape Division of the High Court struck the ATM's urgent application from the roll. The party wanted the court to declare the Speaker's refusal for a secret ballot invalid and inconsistent with the Constitution. But the court ruled the urgency in this matter had been created by the ATM itself, and it could have brought its application earlier. Here's eNCA's Lindsay Dentlinger with that story.
This is the second time the African Transformation Movement approached the court in an attempt to force a secret ballot in its motion of no confidence in President Cyril Ramaphosa. But the Speaker argued it could have done so when she first announced on the 16th of February the ballot would be held in the open.
So the ATM had a remedy at its disposal on the 17th of February, the day after receiving the decision. It could have launched this application. It could have sought to review and set aside the decision of the 16th of February. It could have done so on an urgent basis, a semi-urgent basis, or an ordinary basis. But it does not do so. Instead, the ATM addresses another letter to the Speaker.
The ATM, however, argued it was waiting for a date for the debate to be announced first.
We would submit that the ATM did the responsible thing. That, look, you've made a mistake. You've deviated from ATM 1, from the SCA judgment, just 3 months ago. Please reconsider, review your decision, and let's move forward in a lawful manner.
The judge, however, said the application appeared lopsided and handicapped because other political parties had not expressed their views on the matter. She added the court could not be expected to arrive at a decision on such a complex matter in less than 48 hours.
In the circumstances, I'm not persuaded that this urgency is not self-created. It is self-created. There's no reasonable, no rational explanation as to why it could not have been brought earlier. The date for the holding of the motion in it is not a sufficient explanation and sufficient reason not to have brought this application earlier. And therefore, the matter is then struck from the roll due to the self-created urgency on the part of the applicant.
The ATM says it will now be writing to the Speaker to withdraw its motion. Lindsay Dentlinger, Cape Town.
All right, let's take it forward then. The ATM President Vuyolwethu Zungula joins me now from Cape Town to discuss today's outcome as well as the status of the motion of no confidence in President Cyril Ramaphosa. We'll turn to, what the intentions are around the motion itself, Vuyo Zungula. But let me start by, taking you back to that judgment. What would you say to someone who was watching all of that and the outcome that basically found that the urgency that you are now seeking to have declared by a court was self-created, that you were actually the architects of your own floundering before the courts today?
Thank you, Tula says. What we believe in as ATM, it is engagement. It is the wisdom of working with the Speaker instead of using the courts as a first remedy. We, after the Speaker sent us a letter, we tried to speak to the Speaker, make sure that she understands our reasoning and rationale, because that is what we believe in. Courts must be used when we as two parties can't find each other. Also, what people need to understand that even the Speaker earlier on this month said she's going to ask political parties to write to her to indicate their preferred method of voting. Therefore, it means even though she had made a decision mid-February, but she was still open to engagement, and engage the Speaker is what we did as the ATM. It is only when we found that this decision she's not going to change and there are no prospect of her changing that we approach the courts, because we felt that she's not properly taken into consideration the SCA ruling on the matter, because this is not a new case before the courts. the SCA last year had already made a ruling. So that is why, as the ATM, were to take a bit of time to engage the Speaker and make sure that we do not abuse the courts.
Do you regret giving her the benefit of the doubt?
No, we do not regret, because we believe in dialogue. We believe that even in this case, it is not that the merits were discussed and the case was struck off the roll because of the merits. It was just a question of timing. So even if the motion can't be heard on Wednesday, we want the motion to be postponed so that by the time the courts have made a determination, we could proceed with the motion of no confidence and the voting to be done by means of a secret ballot.
So clarify for me then the status of the motion of no confidence. I hear you now talking about the motion being postponed. This current motion, Vuyolwethu Zungula, has been on the cards or in the offing or brewing for the last 2 years. You've waged a number of court battles and have been back and forth to try and get it to the floor of the National Assembly to at least be debated. So when I heard that you are, your plan is to withdraw it altogether simply because you don't have a secret ballot, I must say I was a bit perplexed. Just take me through that reasoning. Why withdraw after all this fight?
For us, what is important, it is the principle. The principle that we need to stick to as members of parliament is that it can't be that the Constitutional Court makes a ruling in 2017 and advises parliament that the preferred method of voting, particularly on such a contentious issue, and for members of parliament to be able to vote with their conscience and to abide by their oath of office, it is by means of a secret ballot. It can't be that now, in 2022, because it is a different president or a different speaker or a different party that is submitting this motion, then the rules change. Because what we are seeing as the ATM is that it seems that the law is not blind in South Africa. It depends as to who is facing what the motion. That is why you are fighting for the principle to emerge victorious, for the principle to remain, so that we build a country that is based on principle. We build a country where such contentious issues.
I have to come in there, and I've not forgotten the substantive question I asked you, which has to do with why you are withdrawing. But I'm coming in to simply say that what you just said now, that the Constitutional Court said in 2017, the preferred method is by secret ballot, is actually the opposite of what the Constitutional Court said. The Constitutional Court said the preferred method should be by open expression of the allegiance to the Constitution of members of Parliament. But when the conditions when the political environment is poisoned and it's not possible for members of parliament to express their fidelity to the Constitution without facing repercussions, etc., then it is permissible to hold it by secret ballot.
That is exactly what is happening. A member of parliament, Utatus Dlamini, was recently poisoned. We've got Mervyn Diggs, who got a tongue lashing and almost a threat on his life by the ruling party for simply calling for the president to appear before SCOPA. So that on its own is a clear sign that members of parliament, if they were to vote openly, they would not be able to vote in a manner that is in line with their oath of office and with their conscience, because they would fear the repercussions that would come from their own political party.
So with that then dispensed with, take me back to that reasons why. I still want to understand why it is that you worked so hard and fought and slogged so hard to get this motion to be debated and voted upon, only to indications are that now you are withdrawing.
For us to go to court, it was not a matter that we want the motion to be debated, because when the motion we put it through to the speaker, she did allow it to be debated. However, we always had a problem with the method of voting, because we do not think that with the precedence that has been set, that the voting is preferably under these circumstances to be done by means of a secret ballot. So the question was not the matter of debating. It was just a question of the manner in which voting is going to be done. So that is why we went to court, and we are not going to back off from this, what we are fighting for, because we are fighting for principle. Look, Tula says, when you vote at a very, very basic level, at a ward level, voting for a ward councillor, you vote by means of a secret ballot. Similarly, when you vote for a speaker or a president, if there's more than one candidate, you also vote by a means of a secret ballot. Now, for such a contentious issue whereby members are threatened with their lives because should they vote against their party lines, they may be expelled from their parties, they may be removed from parliament. Therefore, to have members of parliament to be forced to vote in a manner that will compromise them and their lives, that as the ATM we do not agree with.
So just in short then, are you withdrawing this particular motion altogether because it's been outstanding for 2 years now, and plan to table a fresh motion at a future date?
We're only withdrawing the motion to be set to be debated on Wednesday. Immediately after the court proceedings have made a ruling on the matter based on the SCA ruling, then we are going to submit another motion. That is the agreement we've also reached with the legal representation from the Speaker.
All right, that makes sense. Vuyolwethu Zungula, at a political level, what will you say to someone who says, in fact, let me start with this. What will you say to someone who is a bit of a cynic, watching all of this and asking themselves, why is the ATM so obsessed with this vote being in secret? What is it that the ATM knows that the rest of us don't know in terms of how the vote would have gone had it been held in secret? You know how our political space is. Such questions can come up.
What we know is the ATM, and it is what the people of South Africa know. Immediately, as a member, you defy your party instruction. You are most likely to be removed from parliament, is most likely to be a threat on your life. We know we've got problems with political killings in our country. So that is what we know as a fact. And we also know that members of parliament from the opposition parties, including the ruling party, are not happy with the direction the country is taking under President Ramaphosa. And they've seen on a number of times how the unemployment is on the rise, poverty is on the rise, corruption is on the rise. However, there's no sense that Mr. Ramaphosa is in control, and there's no sense that he's able to turn things around. Therefore, when this voting is done by means of a secret ballot, that will give an ample opportunity for the members of parliament to truly vote with their conscience and put the people of our country first by voting in support of the rescuing of our country.
Lastly then, Vuyo, given the picture that you just painted about the realities that South Africans face in the Ramaphosa administration, many of which have been covered extensively over the last few months or so, what will you say to someone who says you missed an opportunity to put the Ramaphosa administration on trial, at least in the public, in the court of public opinion? Let the public themselves judge for themselves the performance of this administration, and you put them on trial and basically have them and their performance debated for an entire afternoon into the evening, and force the ANC to defend what at times can be the indefensible, as happened during the Zuma years. What will you say to someone who says this is a missed opportunity politically, at least in that sense?
There is no missed opportunity. Each and every time there is a SONA, all of the parties that debate there, they do ventilate all of these issues, and the ANC comes and defends the indefensible. Each and every time Mr. Ramaphosa is there to answer questions, he's exposing himself as a person that indeed, is failing our country. So for us as the ATM, it is not a matter of a political spectacle. Rather, it is holding the executive accountable and rescue South Africa from a person who is failing to lead South Africa into prosperity.
All right, let's leave it there. Thank you for your time this evening. That's the ATM President Vuyolwethu Zungula weighing in on that motion of no confidence there. So, and other aspects that have moved around the DA motion of no confidence in the cabinet. There's been a bit of a to and fro throughout the day with the Speaker of the National Assembly. In essence, basically the DA will not get its wish to have members of the cabinet who are also members of parliament excluded from voting on this motion, which is about them, the Speaker turning that down, but she is considering the DA's suggestion around voting using a roll call vote, where a member of parliament's name will be called out and you have to signal yes or no whether or not you support the motion. So let's see what transpires in the build-up to Wednesday.